DBA.
Ryan Allred, Kenworth Sales, Business Intelligence / Junior DBA.
I'm Andrea Allred, Sorensen Communications, and
Ben Miller, Nature Sunshine, Director of all database stuff.
Director of Data Management, that's what I say.
Yeah.
That's my
Official
official title.
stuff.
Yeah. I usually just say Director of Databases, it's easier.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you're going to list any other credentials. I didn't interrupt you or anything.
Yeah, MCM.
Yeah,
super special, you know.
Duck. Okay.
Totally humble about all of it.
Yeah, duck. It's all good.
Black belt duck.
Yeah.
Lars Rasmussen, DBA at Health Equity.
Brandon Priest, manager of the database team at Sorensen.
Joseph Scott, software engineer for Online FM.
Awesome.
John Fackrell with Science Bank. Not a DBA, but I like this kind of stuff. So.
Cool.
Holly Markham, database analyst at ARE Laboratories.
Kirk Thacker, BI developer, DealerTrack Technologies.
I have a few friends from DealerTrack.
My new boss from the other track.
New boss.
I think so. Josh Hood?
Doesn't ring a bell.
No, never mind. I'm messing it up.
And Pat Wright, I run the group for a short amount more time. We'll get to that in a second. Been running the group for a while. I work for Merit CX. I work for Utah Geek Events as the president. I run the SQL Saturday and Big Mountain Data coming up. Probably a good segue into the next event, Big Mountain Data coming up November 21st. It's only a couple weeks away. The schedule is very close to being done, even though these guys don't want to talk about it because I haven't sent them what it is. I spent a ton of time on it this weekend because SQL Saturday decided to change the whole website, and so I had to learn all the new features and everywhere to put things. And so, but I'm getting really close to finishing up the schedule. I expect in the next 2 or 3 days it'll be done, and it'll be sent around to all the speakers, and then it'll be sent around to the community by the end of the week.
Did you get enough submissions for speaking slots?
We're definitely going to fill. Some people will have 2. We try to give 1 speaking slot to each person and then fill from that. But we'll have a total somewhere around about 40 speakers between both sets. So we'll have about, and we have to fill 60 sessions. So we will have duplication. Some people will be speaking twice. Pretty sure you are. I'm pretty sure Chad is. A few other people all got 2
Do you
sessions.
need like a second session from me or anything like that?
I don't think so. I think it's all a matter of if people want to at this point. Pretty much, I'm just trying to get it all put together.
More people should have submitted.
Yeah, I was hoping for more. Well, on the Big Mountain Data side too, we didn't get nearly
That was
as
just
many
guilt on
submissions.
my part, actually. It's a little
We didn't get nearly as many submissions, but well, we got a lot. It's a good balance. It's a good balance. So, but November 21st, that's the day you don't want to miss. It's a Saturday. It's at the University of Utah. It'll be all day. Like I said, several of the speakers are in the room. There will be lots and lots of great sessions, all about data, whether it's SQL Server, big data, all the different technologies will be shown there. Jimmy's got a brand new session. It's never been shown before, Jimmy May, and it's all about the perf counters you need to look at. And there's not many people better than him to say what those are. So it'll be a really good session. He just submitted it last night. It'll be up on the schedule here soon. So
We have a lot of out-of-town people coming in too.
Yep. Mike
Tim
Fowle,
Ford, Mike
Tim
Fowle.
Ford,
Steve Jones,
Andre is coming in.
Andre Dubois.
Yeah, Steve is going to be there. So there's a lot of out-of-town people, a lot of great presentations that are
We're not
planned.
presenting at the same time as Mike Fowler.
I'm balancing those two.
Thank you, because I want to see them both.
I know. Well, it's great that we got 17 submissions out of the 19 that are PowerShell. I'm kidding, not that many, but he submitted like 5, and Mike submitted like 4. I'm like, you two are just blanketing the whole thing. Should I just give you a track?
You
got the
should.
PowerShell
You
track.
totally should.
That's a great idea.
Well, yeah, but then nobody's going to go to anything else.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
I do. You have no idea how many complaints I'm going to get. You put this right next to that.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. That always happens.
Yes, I will get that complaint.
It's gonna be like a PowerShell Saturday now.
PowerShell Saturday, that's an idea. We have one viewer online, so if you're
Yeah,
watching
sure.
online, just let you know
Start
that
a
we're just chatting
PowerShell
about
DBA site.
upcoming
Wait a
events.
minute.
Wait a
We
minute.
don't have any video, just audio. They don't need to see me this whole time. So November 21st, the big upcoming event. December, we're talking about doing something social. That's very hard for this group because we're not very social people, of course. But we are talking about doing something social, or we will have something like this again, where we bring in food and other things. It'll be a light meeting of some sort. If we have much of a technical topic, it'll be more of a discussion about a roundtable or some problem.
Can we get a private room, like at an eatery or of some sort, maybe?
That's what we've been talking about. Andrew's been talking about doing a laser tag or something like that at
Oh,
one of
cool.
the event places. And so that's an option. We will probably get money from PASS so we can pay for it. And then, of course, Utah Geek Events can help out as well.
We
So-
can play exploding kittens.
Yeah,
I
We're-
would, that is an awesome
that
game.
is so fun. We
Okay,
play all the time.
even
My
with
daughters
2
love it.
players, it's a good game.
It's hilarious. It's so fun.
I'm up for
Exploding
that.
Kittens. It's a great game. Go check it out. The old game.
There's a 5-minute video on how to play.
Yeah, how to
That's
play.
funny.
It's like Uno with kittens.
Yeah, Exploding Kittens.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a great
With
game.
real kittens?
No.
Oh.
No kids were harmed in
It's a
this.
card
in
game.
this
I
thing.
was so looking forward to the exploding kittens.
Yeah, we started one night at work. We did that as well, just as our team building exercise was Exploding Kittens. So, but yeah, it's a great game. We're going to talk about social things to do. It may be at our normal time in December. We will probably have this location, but like I said, if we do something social, it'll be just as an option for social. And then, of course, next year we're getting ready for our talks in January moving forward. Andrew will be taking over as the leader of the group, so she'll be leading operations.
So please keep showing up, because I'll feel really bad if nobody starts showing up.
The
You and I
first
have to
meeting.
Stop showing
The
up.
first meeting. Go.
Do we have to dress
What?
up?
What?
Oh, you don't have to dress up. I'll make you go dress up.
If I had to cosplay, I'd be enough.
If I don't have to dress up, then you don't have to.
You're welcome to, but you're not required.
But I've seen pictures of your outfit run. It would pair very nicely.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you and I, Ben, can't come anymore. So.
Right.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
She's now inviting us.
So nice.
Always welcome.
So, if you have topic ideas, if you want to speak, Andrew is really the one to contact, but obviously you can still email me. Ben and I are working on getting the site moved over to just the SQL Pass site, and then emails will route into Andrea instead of myself, but obviously I can forward anything to her for now. I'll still be very much involved, of course, because I still have to do a lot of other things. But I still hire DBAs from time to time, so. Okay, any other upcoming events anybody wants to bring up? Meetups that you've heard about or talked about or anything like that? No? Okay, how about problems in SQL Server land? Anybody had an issue with SQL Server in the last month that they would like to bring out onto the table? Keep in mind, you have an MCM here, you have an MVP here. Let's see, what else do we have? Lars is excellent with PowerShell. Brandon's great with everything. No issues with SQL Server?
Wow.
See, I asked this
That's
every
great.
time.
Does
and I'm
anybody,
like,
does anybody use FileStream?
yeah,
I wrote a
yes.
chapter on FileStream.
Really?
Problem solved.
Problem solved.
All I gotta do is ask.
See, we're
He knows everything there is.
We're just starting to use it and trying to figure out how to get it all. We got at least working, right?
It appears to be working.
Encryption.
There's some strategies to
Unit
do
test for
that.
the win.
I know it doesn't encrypt across,
Encryption doesn't encrypt.
but is there any way can you have the data itself encrypted and then?
No,
files.
because the files reside outside of SQL, right?
Yeah,
So,
they're out there just having an NTFS, right?
Are you
Right.
able to use Windows encryption?
yeah, you can use the EFS on the file system itself.
Okay.
SQL doesn't care what's on the file system. It just has to have access to it. So it creates the share. You've seen that when you enable FileStream, it doesn't
Yeah.
share. Did you enable the Win32 file streaming?
Yes.
Okay. Is that how you're accessing the files? Hopefully.
Amongst other ways, yes.
Okay. Otherwise, they come through the engine, which is double
Slower.
duty, right? You have to
Yeah,
pull it from the disk through the
which
engine and out.
Which wastes
but
time, Yeah, exactly. That's-
Waste of cycles for sure. But and are the files bigger than a meg?
They're supposed to.
Sometimes.
Well,
Mostly?
the developer said they're going to be.
Okay, that's
I
that's
have
key
mine
too.
now.
Yeah, 'cause we figured out we want that, want it bigger than a meg.
Yep.
Because at a meg,
That's
Break-
your breaking point's about 800K
Yeah, right
before it starts to suck. Either way.
Yeah, okay, so you gotta decide which way you wanna do, whether you
Yep.
blob it or
Are you
not.
doing remote blob store or on file on the system blob store? On the system. Okay.
Anything else we should be aware of that we're like gotchas or anything like that to think of?
Just don't touch the folders. Leave alone.
Leave alone.
Don't go in and look at the folder. I mean, the contents are the contents. I mean, you could actually literally rename the file. If it's a JPEG file, you could take that GUID and rename it, and it would actually be a JPEG. But don't
Don't do that.
don't go play with that.
Just let it be that big roll.
Yeah, you'll mess with. Yeah, you'll mess with. Have
Okay.
you played with file? What version of SQL?
2014.
14.
So did you look at file tables instead of file stream?
No.
Okay. Well, just another option. That's
We're
maybe a
still-
little more
I'm
robust.
still in a very junior DBA.
All right.
Well, there's your person to ask. Because he wrote a chapter about it, meaning he knows everything there is to know about it.
There's a huge white paper out there that Paul Randall wrote. That
Really?
is yeah, beautiful.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
But why would you want to read that when you can just email better?
All my content that I wrote does comply with what he said, so it's not. I'm not teaching anything different.
As long as it works, that's what matters.
Right. You just have to be aware of what you're doing when you do files.
That's what they care about.
As soon as it fails,
Ben at
call them.
DBA.com.
Wow, what do I do? What do I do?
Ben at benmiller.net.
Yes.
Robert.
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
File stream
any other
good.
SQL Server issues? Anybody wants to bring up? Yes.
So I'm working with XML and I'm trying to figure out is like open row sets or using integrated service packages better to.
So the question on the table is, should we use open row set for XML or integrated packages?
The better question is, should we
Yeah,
ever use
never
open
use XML.
Or should we
The
use
better question is
XML?
how to get away from XML.
Yes.
Relating to anything that you just said. But if
Just
you
convert it all
can,
to JSON.
2016, it's got support.
I know it does.
I honestly, that part I don't know. I have not dumped XML inside there. I've dumped it in a few times and held it inside SQL. I haven't played with the open row set or anything. Has anybody else?
So what are you trying to do?
Yeah, that's a better question.
So I'm trying to get it out of one system. So I've got these text files and sometimes they're CSV, sometimes they're other things, but the only one that seems to open up where the data isn't all messed up is in XML files. So I want to work with that one, but because if I go at the other ones, it's like when you go in and you look at the data, it's some rows are too far, like with tab delimited and
So
things like
maybe that's, in other words, your source system isn't, in other words, you're just trying to open this in what works for you. You're not necessarily, you don't know the format the source system spit it out in.
Well, it'll put it out in like CSV files, or it'll put them out in like
Can you control
tab
the
delimited.
Can you control the delimiter?
I can.
That's the secret.
I mean, open row set is not really the best option for a text file because you have to use the text driver and you have to, I mean, there's a lot of funky things and you're trying to use SQL Server in a way that, yes, it's supported, but it's not robust by any stretch of the imagination. And you can run into version problems across servers. And so it's almost better to, what are you using the data for?
Well, I've got two systems that I'm trying to reconcile together, and then output a log of all the differences.
Right. So in your text file side, are you able to use like an import, like SSIS import for that file into a table and then do table stuff instead, or?
I can't do tables.
You can't do them? Okay.
Not even temp tables.
I guess I could make them out of the, well, the problem I'm running into is where the data source is coming from. The only one that's worked so far is the XML.
Yeah.
Well,
Problem with the other ones are tab and commas are way too common in strings. So they end up messing up your file format. That's why I say if you can pick your if you can pick your delimiter, like I've used tilde forever because it's not used very long, very common in language. So a tilde delimited file actually stays pretty clean. But tab and commas are horrible.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
XML is not any better because it's the nodes.
it's just verbose. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just very verbose. It's a lot more clean if it's well formed, because it's guaranteed to be able
If
to be
you can
consumed.
truly,
but-
if you can truly get it down to an XML and that's working, you may want to check out some of the XML parsers that are actually out there that will read up it into another format for you. There are free parsers out there, and then there's tools you can buy that plug into C# or other components. If you look up JetBrains and some of the other IDEs, they have XML parsers that are meant to actually just parse XML and dump it into another format for you.
And what's the client? I mean, so you have these files out there on the system. What's the client? Or what's driving this reconciliation?
Well, they both come in text, some kind of text format from two different systems.
Right, but they're files sitting on a file system somewhere, right?
Well, one of them's okay, on one side I can get them in tables. But on the other side, it's just text.
And so the client that's consuming that text, what is that? I mean, is it an application, or is it SQL Server?
SQL Server.
So SQL Server's got to deal with that.
Mhm.
And then what does it do with the data?
Just compares what's in the one tables on the one side with the XML.
So you're in two different systems.
Right. So what
I mean,
I've
like
been
two
doing
different
is I've
SQL
been
servers.
doing like an open row set, and then I've been trying to parse it out with a query, and then just comparing the two tables. But that just seems really messy. I'm not sure.
Well, it is going to be messy, but
I would try to convert them, bring them down, put them into a SQL structure, or some sort of table structure, and then do your comparisons from there. Take the extra work to clean them and get them into place.
yeah, I was just thinking of the idea that if you had a client system that was responsible for reconciling these things, you could employ a SQL Express, you could employ a SQLite, you could employ some things to where you would consume the text in that by an external client. So by something that understands it better than SQL. I mean, Open Roset. Open Roset's not a great client for that kind of thing. But if you had, I mean, PowerShell consumes it, SSIS. I mean, there's tons of different client tools that will consume text better. And then you take that and you would then put it into a system or into a temporary storage place and then reconcile by virtue of client. I mean, that's much more manageable than to rely on SQL consuming text with OpenOSET. Sure, you could do it, but you might not have any hair left when you get done. And,
Take that extra cleaning step.
yeah, I mean, it's probably a little more friendly to you anyway.
Thanks.
Okay, any other ones that anybody wants to bring up?
So PowerShell people, I'm sorry, I went to PowerShell.
Oh, yes!
Sorry. So I am struggling getting started. I went to Mike Fowle's presentation at PASS, and I really like. So I did. I got excited, and I went back, and I'm like, I'm gonna, because the deployment structure of SQL Server to get it repeatable was like really it's a great thing in my mind. So I opened up ISE, and I've got his scripts over here, and my little repository over here, and everything I've got is red squiggly lines because I can't find anything, and I'm just struggling with how do I start so everything can see everything. You know what I mean?
What do you mean everything?
So I've got his scripts over here, and I start here with his, and he's got, I don't know if you've seen Mike Fowle's repository up in GitHub, but he's got his presentation at PASS was really well presented, but you can't download his scripts and they just work out of the box because he's referring to other things he's developed in other places. And so I'm just trying to I've got a brand new machine, let's just say, that has never written a PowerShell script ever before, and I want to consume other people's scripts, but be able to refer to them from other scripts without having a path this long everywhere. And I don't know how to get that accomplished.
Okay.
Correctly.
So the biggest thing for making sure you can do that is to have your folder structure set up. So the two places that you can have folder structure are in your documents folder, Windows PowerShell. That's for your user.
Okay.
So If you put it there, your user is the one that can access those, right? So you'll
Mhm.
log in as that user, and then you'll be able to access it there.
Okay.
You can put it in a global space, which is when Microsoft, it's Windows, and then System32, Windows PowerShell v10.
Okay.
Which is
That's-
a stupid name, but yes.
That is a stupid name. I
Yeah.
told in my FreeCon, I said that was stupid, but they did it. Done, baked. Oh, released it. But that's the global place. So that means that everybody, regardless of whether you log in as the user, you created a PowerShell folder in documents or not, it's a global folder. So those are the two places that are already in the PS path, that they're already in the way where they look for modules and things like that. So the bit that then after you do that, then you'll want to make sure you put those files underneath that folder. And I can't remember if Mike Fall's stuff is modules or not.
He's got some modules. He's got some just PS1 scripts. He's got some functions.
So the modules will go into the modules folder underneath that path. So it'd be documents, Windows, PowerShell, modules. And that's where you'd put the folders for the modules so that you can do import dash module and then the name, and it will go look there. And it will look for the folder first.
Okay.
And then it will look for the PSD1.
Okay.
And it will load whatever the PSD1 says to load. If you have PS1s that are not modules, you put them in the Windows PowerShell root instead of in a modules folder.
Okay.
So you would put any PS1s that don't reference or don't have a hard-coded path in that folder so that when you import module or when you try to dot source things to get them to where they're accessible because they're functions, you can just dot source using $PS home.
Okay.
Well, no, it wouldn't be PS home because that's Windows Power. That's the global one. Well, there's a way to split path your profile directory. Anyway, there's a way to do that.
Okay.
I just can't remember what the variable name is. But that way, you can then take that and you can always dot source everything in your scripts. And as long as you have that set up right, then it doesn't matter. I would put them, if I were you on a machine, I would put them in the global.
Okay.
Rather than the user, just in case you have other things like scheduled jobs or things like that that run. Because most often on our workstations, yeah, you're going to log in as that person, as you, right? That's the way it goes. But what you want to make sure you can do is reuse them or use them across your enterprise.
Right.
If you put them in a Windows folder that's documents, you're going to have to create, I mean, now you're going to have to reconcile who's logged in, are they really there, rather than doing PS Home.
Okay.
PS Home will point to the System32, Microsoft PowerShell, stuff like that.
Okay.
That's where you want them if you are going to be doing automation.
Okay. So if
do it on your junk box if you have a secured environment.
Yeah. So I mean but that's how you get them started. Because what Mike Fall's done and what a lot of people do, even I do it, is I create functions, reusable code that aren't necessarily in modules, but in order to use them, you have to dot source them. You know what that means, right?
No.
Dot. And then space, and then dot, then the path. So you dot source them in, it doesn't execute them, it just reads them in and loads them.
Okay.
So now the function's in memory, you're like, hey, I can call it now. So you'd prepare your environment by dot sourcing the PS1s that aren't in modules, and then you'd import modules that you're going to use that are in the modules folder. And now your environment's set up. Now you can start executing stuff that he's doing for deployment, stuff like that.
Okay. And then if you were going to start, I know you've probably both done this, you're starting to develop scripts that are going to be consumed by the team of people that you work with. How would you start with that type of environment?
Use the snippets that are available in the ISE.
Okay.
So
I've used SVN for that before.
Yeah.
As far as sharing source control.
Sharing them, yeah.
Okay.
Git.
So you just put them in source control, but then same type of idea where you would, because the same type of problem is going to happen, right? Because they'll want to go and use this module that got developed and it's in SVN and it's.
Yeah, they're going to have to pull it down and put it in. I mean, but you always have to prep your environment anytime you're scripting, whether you're in Windows, Linux, wherever you are, you got to prepare your environment. So.
And sometimes I just say, hey, edit your profile and put this in there.
Okay.
So if you don't want to set up source control, which is a better way to do it, if you want to be quick and dirty about it, you can put them on a share.
Yeah.
And then just put the, import module statements for that share.
Okay.
But you're still,
especially in a team place, right?
Yeah,
so I mean, you're going to have some
collaborate.
benefits in team spots, but
I think I've used an SVN in the actual PowerShell, the proper PowerShell place, So that it would automatically see those as
Oh,
home,
that's
but it
smart.
was the SVN on my machine.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do lots of tricks you can even set up new PS drive and do a drive. I mean, you can have a lot of things, but the benefit of the global spot in PowerShell is that you can put a global PowerShell profile that will prep the environment. When you launch a PowerShell window, it'll go to the global profile and go load me. And you don't have to. You just figure out what your dot sourcing and stuff like that to prep your environment, and that profiles it. You're automatically ready when you launch the PowerShell window. And so that's one of the benefits of getting it set up right.
Okay.
That's not normally covered in Mike's presentation.
Well, that's the thing that I'm struggling with is because.
So which one do I need to add from yours that does cover?
So I have a PowerShell stairway out on SQL Server Central, and that covers what I'm talking about.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I'll go look at that.
yeah, it talks
It's
about
been a
how
little
you
while
set up
since
your
I've-
profile, where they are, what launches first, what launches second.
Okay. I'll
So
go look at
yeah.
This is the practical PowerShell for the DBA.
Yeah, that's
Right.
the one that
My favorite.
touches this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is very specific, and it's still kind of a 101 question in a way, because hey, how do I get started with other people's scripts? Because you don't want to write your own from scratch right off the bat. Most of the time, you're just doing one-liners from the command line.
Yep.
But I still go back to the 101 Jumpstart, the PowerShell 3.0 Jumpstart is fantastic.
Okay.
On Microsoft Virtual Academy for just wading in, getting your feet wet.
Yep.
But it does not cover this.
Have you done anything with the pre-cons?
No.
Are we going to do any?
No, we don't. No.
We're not going to do any. Anybody interested in a pre-con for PowerShell?
Yeah.
I do a one-day pre-con that we can do the Friday before. We'll find a venue and we'll do whatever. But I mean, if you guys want to
I can advertise it.
come, there's a day. Yeah, there's a day worth of content that just takes you all through this whole
I'll pay
scenario.
for it if I get your log shipping scripts.
Dude, you know how many people have emailed me last week about my PowerShell log shipping scripts? I'm like,
Oh,
good
wait, should I
grief.
approve that session?
It's like, good grief. But yeah, anybody, I'm happy to find a venue or whatever. If there's enough interest for that thing, I'll do a day-long PowerShell pre-con that we can just
Let's
have
send it
fun.
around.
But
I'll get it in the newsletter.
I think that's
see
what
see if there's interest.
I can open scripts, I can read them, I understand what they're doing, but it's like, how do I start? What's
Yeah.
the very
Yeah.
foundation?
Those
of
are the
using
fundamentals, and
PowerShell?
that's
What
what
are
the
the
pre-con
fundamentals?
goes through in gory detail of like what I'm going from scratch. It's basically titled 0 to 60 in a day.
Okay.
And it goes from, I have no knowledge to, hey, this is a cool script. I want to run this.
Cool. Okay.
And
So-
I've noticed that for myself. So I've been using PowerShell a very long time, and Ben passed me up a while ago, stinker. But I was using it before he did. Okay, at least I can claim that. But what I found is that going back through that virtual academy, I'm still learning things.
Oh, yeah.
You can rewatch that sucker. So I've done lunch and learns with it at work. And just said, hey guys, I'll bribe you with lunch. Come on in and learn about PowerShell. And as I rewatch them, I have so much fun going through it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I get that. Oh, I didn't know you could do that, because I didn't absorb all of it, because there's a lot there.
Yep.
And it's very rewatchable. And Jason Helmick and Jeffrey Snover play off each other. And so it's not tedious to view.
Yeah.
Jason Helmick's just fun to watch anyway.
Yeah.
Like he's just an entertaining person.
And Snover's just this can of knowledge that just sits there and taunts you.
Well, and he'll piggyback off of some of Helmick's stuff. He's like, yeah, but what about this?
Yeah, I know.
You could do it like this too.
It's like, good grief. Yeah.
All right, well, unless there's other issues.
Does that help? Okay.
Let's talk about the summit. So who attended summit? Raise your hand, past summit, okay, so just us. One session that I'll take away, that I'll bring up first, that I loved so much was, why did I just forget her name? She works for SQL Skills.
Kimberly Tripp.
No.
No, Aaron.
Aaron Sloan. Yeah, I was with her.
Yeah, we were sitting there, I just ran in. Extended events.
Yep.
So how many people are moving to 2012 and 2014 very soon? Or are already on it?
It was a good presentation, actually.
Yeah, it was excellent.
That's great.
So my team is still in 2008. We're planning 2014 migration next year. We have a trace that I've used for many years. I've actually presented it here before, and I've talked about it before. And that trace uses backend SQL Server traces to do everything, but that's all going to go away with extended events. And it's deprecated. It's not gone. It's just deprecated. And I think in 2016, they're actually going to remove it. They haven't yet. They still haven't in 2014, but they're going to. So if you do anything with backend traces or any of those things, extended events is your best answer. And the cool thing about this session was she told me right before too, she goes, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know in like the first 15 minutes. I'm like, well, good. I can go to someone else's session. And I had to take pictures of it. I was supposed to go get, what's his name? Jason Horner. I was supposed to go get his picture, but I didn't. I was so enthralled with listening to her. But SQL Skills has a conversion utility. Jonathan wrote a conversion utility for your SQL Server traces. So if you go out and you do a profiler trace or something like that and you save that as a trace in your system, you can run his conversion utility and it will convert it to extended events. And it'll convert it to that side, just like that. So, and then you just wrap the same thing around this extended events and you can start and stop it just like you did before.
Pretty slick.
It's so wonderful, so wonderful. Because like I said, mine's entirely automated. It runs in the background. Every 15 minutes I collect my file and then I dump it back into another table and stuff. But extended events, I'll have to convert everything over. And that will just give me that conversion. And then all I've got to do is plug in that same script into my already built wrapper and it'll do the same thing. So I have very little conversion to do, all because of them giving out that free script.
Yep.
It's really cool.
And we found out how much she loves people who stream their profile or trace right into a table. Like as it's collecting. She about fell off the stage.
Yeah, that was probably the only point that she got upset during the session.
She was like, how many in this one guy? She's like, stop it. Or what? I can't remember what she said, but it's real.
She's doing like async right to a file, or
just do a synchronous right from profiler into the table. She's like, you do what?
See, when it first came out, and I know I did this actually, when I first built my profiler in SQL Server 2000, you could write directly to a table, not to a file or not anywhere else. And I'm like, that just cut out all the steps. I got to write directly to a table. And that just buried the SQL Server. I crashed more SQL servers with that statement than any other.
It was really funny.
And then you learn to write it to a file, and then you take the file and you actually insert it in. There's a command to do it. Function get trace file.
So let me guess, it caused a loop.
Well,
the trace writing to the table caused more traces.
It wasn't necessarily a loop. What they did is how they implemented it. It all comes back to Microsoft and how they implemented it. The whole problem is trace, the GUI of trace, pulls back everything and then filters. It's a client-based filter. So even if you say, I only want to see everything that comes from this IP address, it doesn't care. It brings it back and then it filters it by that IP address, no matter what. So there's one problem. So the client's terrible. But what it was doing in that table, I think, was the same thing. It was actually dumping it all into the table and then stripping out what it didn't need.
Oh.
But the other side of it too, though, is it overloaded the log, right? Because every statement's
every
log.
Statement was
so
log.
It wasn't like it was using a bulk load API, or it wasn't. It was just a freaking row at a time, and the log's just going, help! It just kills the server, and you're like, what? So yeah, not a good idea.
Never run your trace tape to an actual table. Now, if you do a GUI trace in Profiler and you just say save as trace table, that's fine. But don't actually stream it into a table. You never want to stream it into a table. And they still haven't taken it away. You can still do it.
You can still do it.
Versions. And people still do it probably. But extended events changes all of that. It basically is an event triggering system. So it's less about watching exactly what's going on and more, okay, this happened, so now do this, and it tracks those things.
So you had your own custom black box trace, and now you're going to convert over?
Yeah. I have, and it's custom in that we go to Profiler, we created a trace that had all the events and everything we wanted, then we just wrapped that in a process that runs all the time. So we have a cleanup and a dump process. The dump process says every 15 minutes, write it to a file. So it's always running. It's always collecting certain things, and then it says write to a file. And we load and import the file, and then we go again. So we are always tracing on my servers. Everything over half a second is traced, and it's dumped to a table, and I use that for all sorts of metrics and stuff. And you can configure it to be a half second, 1 second, whatever. Just don't do 0. 0 is unlimited, and most trace systems can't handle that. Most of the time, if you actually turn on unlimited on most active SQL servers, you're done. You won't open that trace file, not in 5 minutes. I've had a 15 gig trace file in 5 minutes of time on one of my SQL servers. It was insane how much it'll store.
Yep.
Didn't die, but I never opened the file. So, but yeah, that's how we do it to get our trace. And we have to move that all to extended events because, like I said, I think 2016 they'll probably shut it off. They'll probably shut off the trace. You don't think so? I think they will.
I think they'll wait
Nope.
till the one after because not enough people have.
Not according to the product group. They can't afford to. They'll kill. It'll kill people.
Well, I'm still planning on moving because extended events is less harm on your server.
You should. Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
people should, but they're.
Because even my trace has a 1 to 2% CPU hit pretty much is what I've noticed over the years. But I would still try to move to extended events so it doesn't have that.
So one of the things that I found a challenge with extended events when I first started playing with it was that it would only collect statements that completed.
I thought she brought that up in 2012 and 2014. I thought that was changed. Because in 2014, she mentioned there's hundreds more
statement starting,
events
RPC starting. I mean,
now than all the other ones. I think that was an original release of it,
Mhm.
but in the newer versions, I think that's fixed.
Yeah, it's all fixed. You can do all of it.
Okay.
But now here's the thing though, she mentioned, when you're on those newer versions, you have to be using the tools that are related to those newer versions as well. So like 2014, you have to use the 2014 GUI of the extended events as well. If you try to use like a 2008 or something, it wouldn't work.
Okay.
Or like a 2014 down to 2008, that doesn't help you. Because 2008 didn't have those events that it needs, those starting ones in there. So you got to use the right version. But yeah, my intent is 2014.
Yeah, to me, I was like, really? Like, what if I want to find something that was really heavy, really heavy query as far as load on the system? But we ended up killing it before it completed.
Yeah, you'd only find the starting of it.
I'm pretty sure she mentioned.
But that's there then.
It is.
Yeah, 2012 is where they got feature parity, where they were completely the same, and then 2014 is where they've expanded farther than what it was. All the trace events in 2012 are there that were not before, so you should have all of them.
Yep, and you can track causality, so you know what you can correlate events. It'll put an ID that you can correlate the events.
That's what's really cool. It's a newer batch ID would be really nice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And I've done plenty of work trying to put those batch IDs together.
But you do have the option when you create the extended events, I'm not going to call it a trace, event session, to typically you won't tell it that you can't lose events because it's way too much load on the system. So you'll allow one loss. Yeah, you'll allow a statement to be lost. So in some cases, you may lose a statement based on the activity, but typically you won't. But if track causality is on, you'll be able to know that a statement was missed and not that it's just poofed.
Okay.
I mean, you won't know that you'll know that it didn't fire.
Without the overhead of tracking.
Right, exactly. Without tracking everything. Yep.
So that's my thing on extended events. Like I said, go out to SQLskills.com if you're thinking of moving, and don't try to do it yourself. Just go get Jonathan's script.
It's free out there.
Yeah, it's there. It's available. It's wonderful. If you can get the session from hers was by far the best session I had the whole week.
Yeah, the other thing I liked about that session was when you do extended events, you can create the session and not start it, and then start it, stop it, start it, stop it, start it, stop it. I mean, it's just it's at your leisure to do what you want. It's really cool. Yeah, it's really nice that you can.
We were always destroying traces and recreating them.
Yep.
Every run we had to destroy and recreate.
Yep.
Now we don't have to.
Yep.
We just have to start it. So.
You only need it sometime. Fine, don't start it until you need it, but leave it. I mean, you can have it there, so you can have your set of sessions there waiting for you. And I'm going to do this. Okay, to start that one or start that one and that one. And it's really cool, but it's kind of a neat feature.
So you guys were doing kind of a log rotate with yours?
Yeah, we would do a trace file rotation.
Okay.
Ours dumped the trace files and then we collected them and then we deleted them off. Okay. That was all the process.
Yeah, and she showed how to create a file that doesn't ever overwrite itself. Yes. I mean, you could start the session this time and then stop it and start it and stop it, and you wouldn't have to worry about clashing file names. It would just do its thing. It's really kind of slick. Yeah, it's really kind of cool. But.
Which is a benefit and a minus sometimes.
Right.
It depends on what you want to do.
Right.
But it had the options.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Was she suggesting keeping everything, the files that were being written on the same machine as the instance?
That's where you keep them. But
yeah, locally.
So,
unless you've got
you could move them off,
and then you have a condition to handle.
To move them.
Yep. Mine are local.
Yeah, typically.
Well, mine are only stored for 15 minutes and then they're loaded. I don't go a long time. I go very quickly. So.
The cool thing is it's down to the level of the page split. You know what causes page, what object causes page. I mean, it's like all down to the page split. Like,
Yeah,
dude,
there's-
it's really cool.
There was, I think.
It's
she
like some
said-
forensics.
It's granularity.
Yeah, in Profiler, there's 160 some odd events or something like that, and extended events, there's 800. or
Yeah,
1200.
yeah, it's
Wow.
insane.
I mean, they're
Yeah, it's
totally-
crazy.
totally
And there's more coming out in 2016. I mean, they're just expanding the engine. It's kind of cool.
Okay, what other sessions? Who wants to add?
I sat in Paul Randall's, it was so good.
You got in?
His database myths.
Didn't they broadcast
Oh,
it
the
to like
myths,
17?
Yeah, and yeah, I'm sure it was broadcast. It was fantastic. It's a redo of a session that he did like 5 years ago, but
Yep.
he just kind of updated
Yep.
some of the stuff. So I
Good
was I
session.
went out online and I was trying to look up some of the stuff that he talked about. Just sitting in there, I pick up little bits of things that I didn't realize about, like the buffer cache or how the way the logs work or whatever. So I can't tell you anything really cool that happened. It was just a lot of little things. I do recommend checking out his blog, The Common SQL Server Myths, because it is kind of fun because he gives big descriptions on everything.
He had like 17 things he went over, I
Yeah.
think, but.
The biggest advantage that we took out of that was instead of having a backup strategy, have a restore strategy so that if you, he told the story of a bank where their last full backup was in January and they went down in March and they had transaction logs every 15 minutes. But they didn't have a full backup since January.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, dude.
And so they,
RPO's gonna suck.
yeah, they went through, you know, he's like, the chances of one of those backups being corrupt is incredibly
Yeah.
high. He's like, it's insane that we were able to recover. And he's like, every single one of those transaction log backups worked. He's like, but it took us 3 days to do it. And it was a bank. So they were down for 3 days.
Oh my
And he's
gosh.
like, they ended up having to close down because, you know, all their
Other
customers
customers.
left.
I'm not staying.
But he's like, so when you think of a strategy, instead of thinking of a backup strategy, think of a restore strategy and how much time it's going to take you to recover and how much time you have to recover. So if you have to do diffs like 6 times a day, do diffs 6 times a day. If you have to do, you know, whatever you have to do,
Yeah.
make sure you're planning for how long is it going to take me to recover, not how often should I back up. So
How many people have restored it in the last month? Restored a database?
Oh, yeah.
We restore every backup every weekend and do a DBCC at the same time. Yep.
I wrote one of those before, where we
Yep.
used to do it on another server and we would restore it and do
Yep.
that. I've done one like that, but I have my guys pretty much typically restore at least once a month and request. We go through a managed hosting provider through a data center. So we actually just send off a ticket and say, restore this for this time. And that way we can test and make sure that their system is working fully. Because they use a large Commvault backup, so we don't have our hands on it as much. But it's still, the idea of requesting and make sure it's there, that's what matters, is that you know that you can restore.
Yep.
So I would suggest at least once or twice a month.
That's why I love log shipping.
Yeah. Log shipping does.
As long as
It's-
you don't complicate it with some piece of crap tool like SQL Safe.
Totally understand,
Right.
But- Or Redgate SQL backup. I mean,
Are you serious?
good. Oh, it sucks rocks.
Because,
But that's just my opinion. No, I'm not. I don't work for Redgate.
I didn't record it.
Disclaimer.
I think there's a
Disclaimer.
Redgate t-shirt back there.
oh, this is being recorded.
No, it's not.
Great. Pen's blackball.
Yeah. You're not speaking at SQL in the city then.
No,
Steve
we recently purchased SQL Safe. And, yeah, I just wish we hadn't.
Yeah.
And maybe because of, it does, you know, it combines compression and encryption. Maybe I'll change my mind the way we're using it right now, out of the box. It's just really been this huge disappointment. I'm like, man, this was simpler before, just using PowerShell to move these logs around.
Yep.
And it's a mess.
I really am to the point now where I think that if your production environment knows it's being log shipped somewhere, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yep.
Some other server should be, I need your logs.
Yes.
And it's a pull model, not a push
Completely
model.
decoupled.
Yep.
Yeah. And I like pull better for copies anyway. It seems faster.
So.
Yep.
Okay, other sessions?
I also sat in a session on using windowing functions, and it was fantastic. He had, it was Leonard Lobel, and he had a slide that described how the windowing functions were working. And it is like one of the best slides I have ever seen explaining windowing functions. So when you guys get like your recordings from past, or I can even bring it in if you guys really want to see it, it was so good because that's one of the most powerful tools that I've found when trying to do aggregate stuff within SQL is to use these windowing functions. And it made it so much clearer on what was actually happening. And so, yeah, that's one to check out.
We had a brand new to SQL kind of person come to pass this year, and she came back like the next day and said, I had a script that ran forever and now it runs in 2 seconds. I switched out all the window functions.
Did it go from
So,
like an hour to like
like an hour or something to like seconds, just by switching all this complex logic to Windows functions. So they're really powerful.
Okay.
And I know that Windows functions makes it sound like it's something with the OS, but it's just the way that it's
It's a method.
looking at
Yeah,
the
it's a
data.
method.
So but it's really cool.
Yep.
I also set in Denny Cherry's,
Oh, did you?
I saw that one too.
the Enterprise Database
Yeah,
Administrator.
I went to that one too.
It was really good. Wait, no, maybe this wasn't one. I went to the beginner one.
Oh, this is the one I went to.
Okay,
Yeah.
I went to the beginner one about things for when you're first starting out as a DBA, just because I wanted to watch his presentation style and see kind of what he did.
It's an
And-
interesting style.
It is an interesting style.
It's Denny style.
Yeah, but there
was
was some good information in there just about, pay attention to like these basic settings, and if you don't understand what they mean, there's so much information out there to go and look it up. And don't try to outthink your system or try to outforce your optimizer to do stuff that wasn't meant to do. And so it was just really cool.
It's not what Adam Mechanic said.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's like let it do
Seen eye to eye on many of these
Yeah,
things.
they have.
it.
So I went to the optimizing SQL performance with VM stuff with Danny Cherry, and I grabbed a few things that I didn't think about. So in a VM environment, typically, he said that VMware has deduplication in memory turned on by default. And typically on a VM system, that's not all evil, right? Because you'll have multiple VMs that are VMs. They'll be Windows, right? And so the dedupe works very well. But as soon as you introduce SQL Server, it's going to try to dedupe, and it's going to go extra lengths, and the data's not the same. Right? I mean, you have different databases, and it's not going to be like the same copy of the database 5 times. So it can dedupe that, but all the effort it consumes CPU and all this stuff for dedupe. He says for database systems, you probably turn that off. But again, it's only if you're luxurious of having all database systems on the host, right? If you're going to have a mixture, then maybe you leave it on. But you determine that by how much you have. And then,
In other words, if you have dedicated hosts.
yeah, if you have dedicated hosts to only SQL servers on that host,
do.
right? Then
Which brings up the
dedupe
point
it.
for licensing. I mean, how do
Well,
you,
yeah,
because that's the sprawl that we've been dealing with, right?
and you license the
How do
host.
you get away with that? You can't. I mean, at some
Right.
point, you're going to have dedicated hardware for SQL Server for
Yep.
those VMs.
And then there was a setting I had never heard about that called the Paravirtualization Driver. If you're running VMware, you want to turn on your Paravirtualization Driver for each SCSI controller you have, except for the OS. So he recommends having 4 drives, one for the OS, one for data, one for logs, one for TempDB, and every one of those drives should be on their own virtual SCSI adapter. So you can have up to 4 SCSI adapters in VMware. And so you create 4 virtual SCSI adapters, and you put one of those on each, and you enable the Paravirtualization on the 3.
What if you
Leave
have
it off on
42?
the 4. What?
What if you have 42? I don't want to say who has that.
42 drives?
Yeah.
But you just put them
I
on,
know.
put them across SCSI drives or SCSI controllers. But the reason is because you get a disk queue for every controller, which means you have a lot more.
That's kind of just like going back to
Bandwidth.
the exact of,
Right.
you have one path to your same.
Right, exactly.
And-
Yeah,
and
same
have
difference.
multiple different
Yeah, same
pieces.
difference. And then,
That's always been a huge debate though, because it's a question of if the pipe can handle it or the controllers can handle it.
it's always a debate in
And can the
that
CPU
scenario,
push the
but-
storage hard enough?
But because you're virtualized, right, you're still relying on VMware anyway, so you
You
kind of
are. It's a balance.
His whole concept was that it used to be that SQL Server was so important that you would turn everything on to lock VMware out of managing memory and CPU.
Right.
And that's not true. I mean, that you don't want to do that now.
Right.
You want to play in the pool. You want to be a nice citizen in the community. And if you do, you'll be benefited. But if you start trying to lock Windows out or lock VMware out and you can't take my RAM and then you end up being the bad child and VMware struggles more and then you end up with performance problems anyway.
Wait. So what did he say about lock pages in memory?
That it is not necessarily you don't necessarily turn it on.
In a virtualized
In a
environment.
virtualized environment. The big thing with that is working with your VM administrators to not be unfriendly in over committing.
Yeah, that's,
So
that's a big if.
Well, but if you get a VM administrator where they're going in and over committing by 150%, your SQL Server shouldn't be on that host.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be a little smarter in the VMware. And yeah, granted, it can schedule all the CPU, it can schedule all the RAM, but if you're over committed, you're going to expect your SQL Server to not get the RAM. So in those cases, you might turn LPIM on because you want to keep it.
Basically, you have to balance your overcommitment.
Yeah.
In other words, and that's something a lot of us may not necessarily control. Our operations
Exactly.
control it,
Right.
or the design of the infrastructure controls it. You know?
Yeah.
We were in a situation once where we had 2 VMware hosts that ran like 150 machines. There was definitely overcommitting going on.
Yeah.
So it just depends.
Yeah, how about those ready states?
And he warned, the other
I was
thing
just-
he warned about is in a VMware environment where you're overcommitted, he warned about setting the reservations to unrealistic numbers. So you can set a max and a min reserve where you have to have this much RAM. If you set the reserve too aggressively, you won't be able to start the VM if that resource amount isn't available at boot up for that VM. So if you have a guy who overcommits a lot and you go in and say, I'll show you, and you set the reservation to be this much, and you have to have that, the VM won't start if he's overcommitted too far and you don't have enough RAM. So your VM's not
So
ever gonna
that's a
start.
reservation.
Yeah,
setting
so
in
if
the
you
VM.
reboot, so hey, I'm gonna reboot my VM, and you reboot and it tries to come back up and the reservation can't be met, you're done. Regardless how much you will use, if you have a reservation, it will not start the VM if it doesn't have enough RAM. So you just be careful how you play against a VM administrator. So it's very interesting. But
See, I cheat. All my VMwares are single host for my database.
yeah, there you go. That's how you cheat. So yeah, it's all good.
They reboot faster.
I didn't know that they were broadcasting on past TV like the whole time.
Yeah.
And you can now go back
Many of
and
the
watch
sessions.
stuff and watch many of the sessions. So if you go to like sequelpass.org/summit/2015/past TV, you can see sessions.
So I'll make the train.
And like they're, you have, not only does it show the speaker, it shows their slides, so you get all the audio. So you can.
And if you weren't able to attend, you can buy the sessions. The sessions are, I believe, I don't know when they start
See ya.
selling them.
Thanks.
They're about $500, I think, usually. And you can buy them, you can get them access through the site, or you can get a USB sent to you. And trust me, it is still very valuable just to have the sessions.
How do you make sure that you watch them? So do you structure some time at your shop to do it? How do you personally do it?
For me personally, I've never watched too many of the sessions in the past, and I've had recording access to every one of them. And the main reason that I haven't done it is because I've been focusing away from my DBA stuff that I've been doing. So, but for my own team, I schedule them into times. So I try to suggest, hey, put a meeting on your calendar and actually watch one of the sessions. I give them time during work. For my team members, that's what I do. But I also say Saturday morning, things like that. Brent's kind of talked to us a lot about time management and things like that. You find a time that you want to work or whatever, and then you put your tasks inside there to work on those items. Like if I wanted to watch a video and I actually watched Uber, one about Uber and Kafka and Spark and the other things that I'm working on, I watched that video on Saturday morning from about 7 till 9 in the morning.
2 new cartoons.
Yeah, well, my kids are watching something else, or I'm up with the dog, and they're all sleeping, and that's my time. That's when I watch those things. So it just depends on your schedule. But for in your sessions, I would urge everyone to say, team, set up a meeting appointment on your calendar and block your own time during the workday and do this. I mean, I give my team time during the workday. There's
How much
no
time do you give
question.
them?
It should be done that way.
How much time do you give your team to do that?
It depends on how many sessions they have and stuff. I mean, if they want to do that, I'll give them, 2 hours a week or more if they need that, I'd much rather they sat there and watched that than something else. I'd much rather they learn from those sessions. So when I get access to them, I will be sharing that, and Mike attended as well, and he'll get the sessions, and we'll be using those when we need to. It would be better if you actually watch the session and then lunch and learn to a team, to somebody else. That's the better way to do it, because you retain it more. Like you're getting ready to prepare to present. Just like if you were to speak to the group, if you watch a session, love it, and then you prepare your own presentation for it, you're going to learn whatever that content was. I guarantee you're going to retain that content.
And you can pause.
Yeah, you
and
can
talk about
pause, you can
things.
go through, you can demo it, you can do whatever. But my point is, if you retrain on something that you've watched, I guarantee you're going to learn it.
Well, and even if you're not present, but even if you watch it with other people and then
And
talk about it, you will retain more than just watching it.
Even if you did, I mean, something that we've done in the past, haven't as much lately, but we'll do a monthly lunch and learn where we invite every database person in the company, come down, sit, order lunch, watch a video, watch a session. We have Pluralsight too, where we work. So
We do as well.
in your quarterly, MBO goals, there's a whole section in there about training and what that may be, one video a quarter or one a month or whatever it is that you can fit in, and that's part of your score for your
Yeah, I mean, for an overall team part of it, my team's learning a ton of new technologies, the ones that I've mentioned, Scala, Kafka, HBase, all sorts of things. So we literally had a lunch and learn for our team every week, where for the last month and a half, we've been doing them almost every week for our team. On the DBA side, there's been a little bit less because there's not as much training going on there. But for newer technologies, we're lunch and learning constantly. And that's either those guys internal or watching a video, or someone gets something ready and then presents to the others. That's how we do it. Everyone on my team is required to present once a year, no matter what. Not necessarily in user group, but for a lunch and learn.
Sure.
So they go from that and then they go to lunch and learns. And we've got 2 guys presenting at Big Mountain Data this next month. So.
Well, and for training, no one's going to force you to expand your career and to train.
Right.
That's your job, is to go out.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Well, unless you come work for me, then I'll force you.
I like the idea of that though, because I think that presentation skills are an important part of a DBA's job.
Yeah, well, I've always said 100%. When someone comes to your desk, when a developer walks up to you and says, I need a performance in this proc, you are about to give a presentation, period. You're going to present to that person on how to make things better. You're going to talk and you're going to have a conversation with them. That's nothing more than a presentation, just at a small scale. It's the same exact thing. When you get up in front of this group and speak to them, it's the same thing, just a bigger group. That's it. So a DBA, a person to me that can speak and present to a group of 20 people in lunch and learn or something, is much, much more valuable than somebody that can't. So I make for sure that all of my team has to present once a year.
My 2 favorite sessions did not happen in a session.
Did not happen during Summit?
It happened during Summit. Did not happen in a conference room watching
Oh,
the
you got the
stream.
hallway track.
So 2 hallway tracks were my favorite. One is I had a great conversation with Ben on the train about how he uses certification tests as a training and development of your staff instead of the certification. If you get a certification, great, but really is, where am I good and where am I lacking? So you know where to focus and study. That was a good one. And the other one, I had a great conversation with Edwin Montoya, but I can't think of his last name now. Let me look it up. But it was kind of on the same lines as what Brent was talking about in the Recon, on time management and focus on what's important to you. And great DBAs come from the time they put into it, not by what they do at their desk, but it's outside of the time you have at your desk as well, right? That's what makes a great DBA.
I'm really judgmental about people who talk about time management, because when I look at that person, I'm like, are you really balancing your time?
Right.
Or does balancing your time mean to you that you're not going to have family, you're going to focus on your career? So I'm very careful about who I listen to about that.
And it was more just
Because
the idea.
everybody's life balance means different things to different people.
Yeah, when you learn about time management, you should learn about how people do it or what they do, but then use it in your own way to make your own balance. So in other words, time management shouldn't tell you how you need to balance it. It should tell you what you should do to get to a balance.
No, but I like someone that I can look to as an exemplar for it.
Let me
like Brent did a great free con on time management and stuff. Honestly, I took a few of his things away, but I didn't take all of it because my time is much different than his.
Sure.
And how he focuses on it with consulting hours and things like that. I don't work in that same world. So
Well, and he doesn't have kids.
Yeah, he doesn't have kids, and that's what I took away from it.
That's what I'm talking about.
But the way he structured what he did and the ideas and the task list he created and all of those things, those are the things that are advantage. I really like getting things done, the book for that. That's really good to talk about time management and how to deal with things. So it's just another method to use. But yeah, how you manage it yourself is just, you have to decide your own balance. Because people always ask me, and one of the interview questions is your work-life balanced here at Merit CX or whatever? And I'm like, well, you can't ask me that because I'm the exception, being that I have 3 other jobs that I do as well.
Yeah.
And so my work-life balance, in my opinion, is fine. But if you took me compared to a normal person that did something differently, then they probably would see it as terrible. That's just the way it is. So it just depends.
Yeah, for me, it was the one-on-one conversation for me was the best takeaway because you can gear the conversation to what you have questions about instead of what the room of 200 people do. So
that's why I like to, in here, that's why I like to ask first, do you guys have any problems with SQL Server or anything like that? That's why I bring those up. You can get those problems answered or questions answered in a group setting where we have the time to do those. That is our hallway track for the user group.
Yep.
So even if we don't have a presentation, the hallway track is important for you guys to come and talk because you're gonna get those questions answered. These guys just found a file stream expert for all the questions they're gonna come up to pretty soon. They didn't have to do anything else besides attend the user group. So it's important to attend these every time, regardless of the session, because you get the hallway track.
Yep.
That's why we attend the summit every year, even though we don't have something in play.
Well, I usually spend more time talking to people and building those relationships and getting on their IM buddy list or whatever, so that when I have an issue, either I can get on Twitter and ask for help, or I can get on IM and ask for help. Yeah. Just say, hey, help me with this. And it's just a really quick IM. And usually I can get it solved in a few minutes, whereas I would spend hours spinning my wheels on before.
Yeah, any conference you go to, do not neglect the hallway track. The hallway track is more important than the sessions 99% of the time.
Especially since you can get the recordings.
Yes, you can get the recordings. They work just as well.
If you go to past recordings, they're super cheap. It's like $200.
Yeah,
so
it's not much at all.
Yeah, it's super cheap.
Communication tools change a lot, and I was playing with the Slack thing. Obviously, that little premature. Please do.
So Slack. So what Lars has created is, how many people use Slack at work right now? Okay, only a few of us. So Slack is a communication tool for in teams, basically. It's not a Skype. It's not a IM necessarily. It has like an IM-like feel, but it has much more of a forum feel as well. There's whole conversations inside Slack. I have my entire team in there. As a matter of fact, my whole development group is in there. We use it as IM, but we also use it as giant conversations. We have discussions about products, about what are we releasing. And then you can set up all sorts of incoming things that'll go to it automatically. We have little incoming webhooks that when our app fires off a certain alarm, it starts filling the channel with stuff. So all of these things are there, and you can set up one for a community. So we could set up a SQL Server users group kind of in there where you could just chat. We could have a general channel inside there that's, like Andrea said, ask a question, somebody can respond. The only thing I've found right now is that I'm on Slack constantly with my company. But I was hoping the little quick switcher would show me actual alerts from the other ones. It doesn't. It stays silent.
For the for which app?
Yeah.
Well, mine has I use it on my desktop, and it has down the side.
Yeah.
And you'll see they'll go dark when it's their turn, like when someone's made a comment in there.
Yeah, and then they
so I'll just click on that.
Yeah, but I mean, in other words,
So the alerts only
there's
work for
multiple
one
channels.
it
context at
only
a time,
works for one
domain if you
Oh,
want.
I see what you're
domain.
saying.
That's the problem I'm having. In other words, I'm on the other one, and it says right here, sign into another team, but I have to fully sign in.
Yes.
Because I've been thinking about creating one for Utah Geek events, but the problem is we can't easily chat across that because I'm never going to see any messages.
Because you're not going to get alerted.
No, I'm
Well,
not going to know.
I'm on the women in technology one, so there's a
Right.
bunch of us girls talking all day, and the same thing, if I try to go into my work one, I have to.
Yeah, you have to switch. Right. So that's the biggest problem I see with Slack. But if somebody would like to think about that or take that, it's another way for us to have a conversation as a group.
What do you think the best context would be for that? Like Utah SQL, because I'm happy to run with that.
Yeah, I think it would be something like that. I've been thinking more of doing Utah Geek events. We have a 501c3 and they'll let us go. Slack will give us a full, not-for-profit with as many licenses as we want.
Well, then we should do that.
Yeah, yours will stop at 50.
Mhm.
After 50, it'll say you can't do this anymore. And we've paid at my office, of course, but the not-for-profit one is free.
Mhm.
So if I set up one as Utah Geek events, and then we put Utah SQL, and then we put, say, the Elastic meetup, or say somebody else's meetup, we started dropping them in there, it would be a way to converse and talk through those things.
I think that's a good way to do it. And then as it grows, we can create separate channels.
Yeah, and we can create multiple channels.
that are much more granular. But I think that we just had one type of Utah SQL channel under that umbrella domain to start with.
Yeah.
That'd be a good way to grow it. And that way the conversations that we're having right now here can be continued and extended, and the people who aren't here can participate in them as well.
Yeah.
The one that's been cool is we have like a SQL help channel,
Mhm.
and then we also have a speaker channel. So like if you have speaker questions, you can go in that room and sit and talk about that, or
For presentations.
Yeah.
or if you have questions, just general questions, you
And
can.
that's what we'll have to decide is how focused. If we do it at a large scale like Utah Geek events, I could have channels up there for my own planning and stuff and all sorts of things.
Sure.
But those could all be private channels as well, and many of those things. We can create whatever we need. The nice thing about putting it all under one is that it all becomes not-for-profit, and it doesn't matter. And we're not limited. in what
Right.
we do.
So they give you all the features is what you're saying.
Mhm. Yeah. I think I thought I created it, or maybe not, I just looked at it, because we had talked about doing it already. Like I said, the biggest problem I have is how are we gonna switch between them for those of us that use it? I mean, I'm in this constantly,
Yeah, at
every
that
day, I've
point-
got people pinging me right now.
At that point, you almost have to have the client app
Another-
running
yeah.
and a browser window running for a
With
separate
some
domain.
other login.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the biggest problem, so we'll have to see if they have a solution, but we should get it started. If people wanna jump onto that, just let us know. We'll send out an actual invite, because we'll make it invite only to whoever's in the groups. We don't wanna just flood it with spam bots or anything like that. So we'll make it invite to the lists that are out there and then go from there. Yeah. So, real quick too, on the SQL Server website, there's an SLC SQL website. I think it's down still. Ben didn't crash it, but there was a problem with it. And we haven't brought it back up because we're trying to move it over to PASS. So it may stay down
To
for
the
a little
official.
while. Yeah, but the list is still maintained. The list is actually maintained through MailChimp, not through that site anymore. That site will not be coming back the way it was. We will be bringing it back with the PASS site or something else. Your membership will go through Meetup or through the mailing list that we have. We won't bother with the site really anymore. The site is nothing more than announcements and stuff, and that's about it. It's not, we're not planning forums or anything major on it. Like I said, maybe we'll use Slack for that sort of stuff, but we're just not. We just want to do a list. We just want to do a news list, and the Meetup group is really the two that will be there. And if you haven't joined the Meetup group, make sure you join it anyways, even if you're on the list, even if you get the newsletter, because then you get these nice little calendar invites and all this stuff inside it. Meetup's really nice to run those things.
You could talk to people.
Yeah, you
It's
can email. and
good to
stuff
help
there.
learn names. That's been my
Yeah,
favorite part, is to
faces,
learn
yeah.
people's names and faces.
Yeah, so we'll keep expanding the Meetup for sure. We're not gonna slow it down or anything. If you wanna join up on there, fine. We'll still send out through our news list because there's a lot more people on that. But sooner or later, we'd love to just keep using Meetup because it's a great way to promote and learn.
So I wore a Utah shirt almost every day at PASS. And it was amazing to me how many Utah people
Yeah.
are there that never
That
are
never come
here.
here, I know.
It's
Wow,
amazing.
really?
It's amazing.
We still had 10 or 15. There was 10 or 15, I think, that are not on our list.
Yeah, there was people pulling me aside all the time. Hey, you're from Utah. We'd talk for a minute and I'm like, I try to promote user
I've
group.
worked with
And
people who have pretty much zero interest in this side of SQL Server. meaning the user group side. And you'd be lucky to see them once or twice a year at events, but they're good DBAs.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the idea and the goal of this group and tell your friends is that even if you're not into the position, the presentation, the content you get when you're here and you talk to other people, that's what's important. Is those
The networking.
things. Right. I have this wonderful quote on my wall at work that we have a quote wall, and it says, and I said, I've met all my future employers. The reason I say that is because I've attended CIO meetups, CTO meetups, I've attended user group meetings, I've attended conferences, I've attended all sorts of stuff. My future employees are at those events. Your future employees, some employers sooner or later, are at those events. Your future employers are out in the social community, not, waiting for you to send them a resume. So that's just my point on it, is that come here regardless, because someday in the future, you're going to be working with someone else that was at the table. So that's how I look at it.
And you want to know whether or not you want to work with them.
Exactly. It's not bad.
Go both ways.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not about you're finding a job at that time or anything. It's just for future use. Again, it's just plain flat out in the future. I've said I've been a chapter leader for many years. All of my jobs have become because of my work in the community. Everyone has come to talk to me because I work in the community as a chapter leader, as a presenter, as an organizer, all of those things. They didn't come to me because my resume was sitting on LinkedIn or something. It was entirely because of my work in the community. So Andrea's got it all next year. Keep that in mind, Bridget.
Please keep coming.
All right, I think that's about all, unless we had other things to add from past, but I'm pretty much good on most of the things that I had. Like I said, I'm going to write up a bigger trip report. Maybe I'll turn it into a blog post if I actually do that blogging thing again someday. But my book is off, so I can't. All my comments, all my notes on every presenter are all inside that book.
That's really cool that somebody found it for you.
Oh, well, I left it right on the table of the community zone. We were actually teaching someone to set up a new users group, and I just left it there, and Jamie was still there, and Jamie and I are the photographer. So, yeah. But it was good that it was found and quickly and got sent back.
How was the breakfast?
Which one?
The Utah breakfast.
Oh, the Utah breakfast was good, yeah, as soon as we found the location.
Yeah, sorry. I forgot that it was kind of tucked back.
It's like buried underneath the stairs on the court. And if you try to, I walked up these stairs to go, and it's at the courthouse.
Yeah.
So I walk up these stairs to go to the courthouse. I'm like, I don't really want to go in there because I'm going to get frisked, because there was, the detectors and everything, and the conveyor belts. I'm like, I'm guessing it's somewhere else. And I started walking around. There it is.
Yeah. We need one of the Utah Geek event little.
Yeah, you need one of my flags. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You'll see those flags in a couple weeks. They'll be out. But yeah, it was good. Yeah, I almost didn't make it. I think I was asleep or something. Or who actually came in really late? Chad did. No, Chad was there. There was a few.
No, it was Ben.
So good attendance.
Yeah, it was not bad.
I was still asleep.
Oh, that's right. You didn't come. That's right.
I missed it. Just.
It's my fault.
It's all your fault. Don't you know that?
Standard.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty well received. So.
Please don't forget to take swag. I don't want to take it home.
Stuff.
Please just take it.
If you're interested in pass, now is the time to go sell your employers on it, because it is
$1,000.
it's $1,000. In 6 months, you'll pay $800 more than this at least. So it is super cheap right now.
Is there a deadline for that?
January 11th.
You know what? But the amount of training that you get.
This is government. They don't do it.
Now you can also try to volunteer too as well. There's committees that will be calling for volunteers. If you go to SQLpass.org and say volunteer and say I'd like to volunteer, you might get a call back. If you do enough time, then they'll give you a free ticket. So that's an option too. Or if you're a chapter leader.
And truthfully, it's well worth the $1,000. Go on your own. Put some, as someone told me in the past, put some
investment.
Put some investment in yourself.
Yeah, that's possible. Okay, November 21st. Hope to see everybody there. sign up, please. UtahSQLSaturday.com or UtahGeekEvents.com. One of the two.
I keep checking the website. Hasn't changed.
It has changed. Did you get like an approval email? I sent it Sunday, I hit approve. So you should get like
Think
some
so.
sort of approval email.
I haven't seen that.
I got one that said I'd submitted.
Yeah, I got that one.
See, you're approved.
I'm just harassing you. It's fine.
You should see how much you changed. Oh my hell. I got in there and I was like, whoa, this is gonna be terrible.
That's good.